Prepare, respond, serve. This is the 5 Stone Podcast, where the 5 Stone Pro staff brings you years of real-world professional experience from the front line. Let's do this. All right, we are back finally again. This is your 5 Stone Podcast, Prepare, Respond, Serve. I want to first start off and apologize to the people out there who have been waiting for more releases from us. We have started something that's a very big venture here at 5 Stone that has really kind of taken all of our time, which is our 5 Stone Frontline Coffee. So this is a Kentucky proud, all locally fresh roasted coffee, gourmet coffee that we started to help raise funds for first responders. We've been able to donate to the Kentucky Brotherhood Ride and for the fallen heroes of 2020. So it's been a really good venture for us and a way for us to reach out and to give back to those people that serve us every day. And so it's taken a lot of our time, so I apologize if you have been waiting for podcast releases. We just have not had time to get that done with everything else that we're going. But now we've kind of got it up off the ground, taken off. We're coming back at you with some podcasts. So if you guys are interested in some 5 Stone Frontline coffee, let us know. We ship all over the United States, and we've got several orders coming in, and it's working really, really well. So it's amazing, legit, really good coffee. Today on our podcast is going to be a special character. I don't want to call him a friend because he's kind of weird, but a special character by the name of Chris Wilson. Chris is one of our 5 Stone Pro staff who is a good friend of mine, dear friend of mine, who has been literally in the trenches with me and with our videographer here, Blake Sherlocky with River Right Productions. And Chris has been there through us and been friends of mine for, man, I don't even know, probably going on 17 years now, I guess, 18 years. Been good friends. We've trained a lot together, done a lot together, and it's an honor to have you on the 5 Stone Pro staff. And I want this podcast to kind of be a get-to-know-you kind of podcast, so people out there can know who you are, your background, kind of what you bring to 5 Stone, but what you really bring to the community and people that maybe want to seek some training, because you have got a lot of experience that a lot of people in this world just don't even have. And so it kind of brings you to the table and brings some light. So go ahead, man, introduce yourself and tell us all about you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk on the podcast. I never really consider myself anybody special per se. I just have an interest that can't be quenched. So I've gone different places and sought different trainings and did all the things that people say you can't do, and have had some really great instructors and really good friends that have taught me all the things that I currently know. But, I'm born and raised here in Kentucky, right in the middle, if you can't tell by my accent, right in the middle of South Central Kentucky. So
I was thinking more like Boston.
Right, yeah. No. I have cousins in Boston. Shout out to Boston. But, yeah, just a homebody, a Kentucky boy, doing what we do here, man. I mean,
No, I wouldn't even go there. Doing what we do. So we don't run ultramarathons. Okay, yeah, well, that's not what just your normal South Central Kentucky boy does. You don't just go run 50, 60 miles at a time. That's just not normal. What we do is typically normally not like going out and living under a tarp for days and surviving in the middle of the wilderness with nothing but a pocket knife. So that's normally not what we do. Now, as men, that's what we would like to be known for.
That's what we should be.
But you took it upon yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of the audience kind of get to know you as a whole rounded person.
Sure.
Right. So like, I got to meet you first working at the local emergency room.
Right.
I was just newly graduated registered nurse working in the ER. I met you there. You were a tech and you were interested in just continuing your education, going on to be a nurse.
Right.
But you already had previous experience prior to that with fire rescue, right?
EMS. At the time, it was they just called it rescue, so it was the rescue portion, and then EMS was combined, and then fire was its own entity. In most big cities, and well, actually most of the country, fire and rescue are one, and then EMS is its own entity. But here in Campbellsville at the time, it wasn't that way. I had a lot of good people that poured into me early on. One of my gym instructors, Miss Grover is what we call her. Miss Perry Warren is her real name. She noticed early on that I had a certain type of attitude and skill set, and I was driven, I guess, and so she spurred me in the direction of fire rescue, or at the time it was rescue.
Yeah.
She had a lot of connections with the chief of rescue at the time, Chief Charlie Shaw, who's also somebody that poured into me, him and his son Scotty.
Yeah.
Probably kind of responsible for the way I view structure and the way I view
discipline, yeah.
And just being ready all the time. So I had a little bit of EMT experience going on then too. I basically went through their recruit class when I was in high school. So when I graduated, I basically got my EMT license, jumped right on a truck and started,
That's how old were you? About, 18, 19 years old?
I couldn't technically be an EMT in the state until I was 18. So literally when I was 18, I remember driving to Frankfurt to get my license so that I could be on a convalescent truck, because that's awesome. You started with their organization. You started from the ground up and worked your way into a rescue spot. So that's what I did.
Then you really kind of got into fire side a little bit more too, didn't you?
The fire side we didn't fight fire then. We did rescue then. So all your special ops stuff was done then. I wasn't able to be on the team because I just hadn't tried out and I hadn't been there long enough. I think back then, and I may be wrong on this, Scotty Shaw, so don't shoot me, but I think back then you had to be on for 2 years as either part-time, full-time, or they had volunteer.
Gotcha.
And then you could apply to get on the special ops, and they were pushing the line back then, even for this area and for this small town. So, but but I basically some political hands changed there. Some political winds changed, and kind of saw the writing on the wall as the organization went. So I got out and decided I'd go to nursing school instead. I started.
So you progressed from doing that and being a tech in the ER to going to nursing school,
right?
To eventually becoming the emergency room director, at that hospital there. And during all this meantime too, you took it upon yourself for some reason to start running, and you just never wanted to quit. So
right.
For the audience, I don't know if many of y'all are familiar with what it takes to even, so you're going to run a 5K or a 10K or whatever it might be, half marathon or full marathon. It takes so much training and preparation and diligence and drive and focus and studying and research and knowing your body and having that discipline to feed your body that fuel that it has had to be sustained for that. And that probably, a lot of that probably for you came from that discipline that you're talking about with, Chief Shaw and Scotty, of getting you ready for that.
Right.
Because then one of your first big runs, you're like, hey, I want you to go with me and be my crew or whatever.
Crew,
and I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm doing. Right? And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go run 50 miles. I'm like, well, that's stupid. And you're like, I'm going to run 50 miles. I'm like, whoa, where are you running at? In the mountains of West Virginia. I'm like, this just got more stupid. Like, I'm supposed to crew, I don't know what I'm doing. So we researched, and I just did the best that I could. And you ran 50. What was it?
It was 45 miles.
Yeah, 40.
It was supposed to be a 40 mile
40
race.
mile, 45.67.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you got 10th place.
Yeah, we got 10th place.
Which is ridiculous.
Now, the thing about it is only 15 people actually finished the race. So
that says even more that 10, more than 15 people started.
Yeah.
Only 15 people even finished it. How many people started that, you think?
Gosh, I don't know.
150 or something?
I don't know. I want to say 100. Let's just say 100. Yeah. I don't know for sure. It may have been less, may have been more. Yeah. I don't remember. I usually try not to look at crowd size because most of them are gone by the end of it.
That's pretty awesome, though, man. When you come across that finish line, dude, I felt like I was running it with you, man. It was so awesome. All your family was there and stuff.
Yeah, you were.
It was cool.
Yeah.
But we trained you with martial arts back,
that's right.
What was 16 years ago, kind of got you started with some martial arts and stuff. And you already had some training. You got with us and taught us a lot about shooting and long range shooting and some different crafts. We'll just leave it at that kind of, and and kind of went down that path. And then, our path just kind of merged, and we had just really just kind of taken off.
Yeah.
In our skills.
When I was young, growing up, I had a gentleman who, again, poured into my life. His name, Terry Gardner. I don't think he would mind me dropping his name.
No, we love Terry.
Yeah, that's right. But a very opinionated guy, very driven himself. He was a local businessman, still is a local businessman. But he taught me a lot about being prepared, not caring what other people say, just doing what you know you need to do, even even when others say it's not right, it is. Following through on that. Taught me how to shoot. Growing up, I wasn't. My living situation growing up wasn't the best, but my parents, don't get me wrong, they provided and did the best they could. I mean, by leaps and bounds. But as far as hunting and shooting, I didn't have that father figure that did that at the time. Now things have changed since then. It's gotten better, but
he's done it with us now, man. Yeah, that's done his trapping and all that with us.
That's right. But yeah, Terry was the kind of the guy that I went to on the weekends. His son Cody Gardner was my best friend, and that's where I learned how to make a ghillie suit. It's where I learned how to shoot. Where I learned how trigger control and long range shooting and tactical shooting a lot. And Terry's brother had some military experience, and so we fed off of all of that. And so Terry always was big on you don't know what you don't know, so get in the books and figure it out. Go to a training, figure it out. So
that's one thing we've always kind of done. We've always just fed off each other.
Right.
There's never been a competition. There's never been an arrogance about, I got this and you don't got this. It's always like, hey, we're going to grow this together.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize this, but through all these experiences that we've been put through in the past, like, I was a nurse, but then I became a federal officer, right? Then I became a flight nurse, and I was a nursing manager for a while,
Yeah.
And all this stuff kind of led through to where we are, but it ultimately led us to a place that nobody ever thought that we would ever get to. We train federal elite officer units.
Sure.
The U.S. Marshal Task Force, came down and they said themselves, we've never had training this good.
Right.
And I'm not trying to toot our horn and brag. I'm just saying it's just amazing how all those paths, come together at one time. That we were able to help those officers to get them trained for their high risk situation they got to deal with.
Right.
And then one of your things really big is survival. And I want to do a whole nother podcast, on survival. But really, what kind of made you go down that path? What made you hit it's just a calling or whatever it is? What got you to being so driven to helping people become prepared? Because that's really what you push at Five Stone.
Right. It's probably a collaboration of things, but I don't know where I exactly picked it up, but I knew I always wanted to be, I guess growing up the way that I did, I always felt unprepared. I never had anybody to show me how to deal with somebody that's getting loud in your face. I never had anybody show me how to start a fire. We did a little camping growing up, but it wasn't unlike what I do now. But I never had anybody to show me that. And for whatever reason, and I don't know who it was or at what point, I can't point to a specific time and date, but I decided that I needed to have a lot more answers. So I needed to be basically a man for every season. I needed to be the guy that had the answers when it came to be time to do whatever. And so I realized that a lot of the stuff I enjoyed doing was outdoors, a lot of it in high risk, high stress situations. And, I stopped taking things for granted. I stopped taking for granted that I would have I didn't want to take for granted that I had a knife or I would have a knife. How do I start a fire without it? And that path, and along with some love of history, the Native Americans and Special Forces units and combat and just really human history in general, combined with all of that to figure these things out. That was kind of the kickoff around about the time that David Canterbury was showing up on the scene. Yeah. He had an online course, so I took it, and it was kind of cool. And he's in Ohio, I'm in Kentucky, so I don't, as far as actually learning much, it was mostly what I call coyote teaching. I think that's actually a Tom Brown tracker method. So shout out to Tom Brown tracking. But
not trying to take his
right. But
there.
Those were the books I was reading, and those were the guys I was watching and training under, and it just flowered from there. It's I'm a rabbit hole diver. I want to figure out if we can start a fire with a lighter. How do I start a fire without a lighter? How do I start a fire with 2 pieces of wood? And how do I start a fire with no bow drill? And,
Yeah.
how did they used to do it? And then, once I know that, then the rest I'll build upon that. And when I got a lighter, it's a luxury, And so that's kind of the way I've done all of my training.
And you kind of pulled me into that with your survival stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was the same way. I didn't have a dad growing up, father figure. So I would my dad was from Nova Scotia, but it was like I just had this calling to always be in the woods. I had to be in the woods. I didn't know anything about the woods. I wasn't taught how to hunt, nothing. And I would just take myself as a kid and be like, Mom's like, be back at dark.
Right.
And I would just go to the woods.
Yeah.
And I'd stay all day long and just try to like figure stuff out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like there's something about the special breed of people that just do that.
Yeah.
But when I got with you, I learned some skills. It was like, oh man, like it's not difficult to learn.
No.
It's really not. It just takes the time, the dedication,
Right.
and the willingness to be uncomfortable, like we talk about,
Yep.
to put yourself there.
That's right.
But all those times that you did that helped you with Campbellsville, Taylor County Special Operations, with your fire rescue.
Sure.
All right. So you were awarded.
Special I think I was rescue technician of the year. Yeah, something like that.
And you did a lot for that team to help establish that whole survival side of things that they really didn't have before. You did some training. You taught people the importance and maybe what to do in certain situations.
Sure.
Then as the department grew, we started reaching out and teaching other agencies, other counties all over the state, and the other people started coming in and started getting a chance to learn from it. So you want to talk more about the importance on not just as the general civilian would just be like, oh, well, hey, I need to learn survival because it's important in case I'm ever stranded. Because we take it more serious here in Kentucky because we're in this type of environment.
Right.
Somebody from the city may think, I don't need to know survival.
Sure.
But that's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's probably opposite.
But then you also take it on a level with 5 Stone, that your technical rescue training that you would offer to teach these teams, these specialized teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, they may not be thinking of it as far as like, well, I've got a Mylar blanket, I'm good.
Right.
Because we are special operations.
Right.
So what's the real importance for that?
Well, we had a saying when I was on the team, and it's still there. I'm sure somebody's probably wearing it on their PFD, but nobody's coming. It's up to us, and that's the truth. I mean, we had a training incident where we called a mayday over the radio and nobody ever answered. We go on floats and on rescue missions that last hours and days, not 2 hours, 1 hour. We're not putting out fires here. We're literally jumping on a boat in the middle of the winter and floating on a flooded river to go find somebody, or in one case we searched for almost 3 months for an individual, and so we're a small team, our resources are limited, and there's a lot of us, a lot of different teams around. You get Louisville and Lexington, and Bowling Green has a team, and I'm sure there's some other teams out there, but and I apologize if I forgot anybody, but it's pretty obvious that anything could go wrong real quick, and you could have all of your gear stripped from you pretty quick. You flip a boat in full-on winter flow on Green River, and that boat's gone. Everything in it's gone. You're never going to get it back. You could swim all day. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And now you're cold and covered and shivering, and Lord forbid there be a victim in the boat with you when it happens. Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things that I see a gap that needed to be filled, and I had the skills to fill it. I didn't jump right in with 2 feet and go, "Hey, Chief, I'm going to start teaching this. This is my second day on the team." But I just trickled it in and where I could, and the guys knew kind of where I stood on things and what I was capable of, or at least I hope most of them did. And so we started throwing it in just kind of random. First, I think I did like a 3-slide deal on at a training with a neighboring department, and everybody really liked it. And so then we bumped it up, and the team here, Campbellsville Fire Rescue Special Operations, they do a winter training. It's probably one of the most aggressive swift water trainings, I would dare say, on the East Coast. I mean, I don't. If you watch the videos, we're jumping in the water, and we're talking raging river at night with a PFD and a couple lights, and it's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. So we started integrating some of that survival, being able to start a fire, having the right kit on you versus just having a bunch of cool stuff you found on YouTube. What works, what doesn't work, because when you're soaking wet and you're in a dry suit and you got a PFD on and your patient has nothing on, for anybody that's plucked any bodies out of the water, a lot of times the water's it's powerful. It strip your clothes off. So, they might have a T-shirt, might not. Who knows? But they're freezing to death. You got minutes, to get a fire going, to get them warmed up. You don't have time to, exfil them back to base or to whatever to extraction point for a helicopter. You don't have time. And it played out a few times. There was a neighboring team that went out on a search and ended up they were looking for an individual, but in the meantime a kayaker had flipped their boat and had gotten pretty hypothermic, and they were able to utilize some of the skills and that awesome. I taught them, warmed them up, and it worked well. But in all honesty, if you're doing anything like that, you've got to have a certain level of skill. You really don't have any business being out on those type of missions without it. And nobody was pushing it. They might have, a lot of the guys out on my team, especially, they had gone and done their own thing a few times, but never as a whole, and sat down and said, this is what we need to do. So,
it's real important. I think that people understand that it's what you practice. You can think you understand something. Like I was like, I can start a fire. Who can't start a fire?
Yeah.
Until you're like, you can't use anything but this bow drill. And I'm like, months later, I'm like, I got some smoke.
Yeah, right.
Well, there's a whole lot more to it.
The saying goes, you don't step up in a situation like that. You revert back or fall back on your training. You're never.
You don't rise to the occasion. You fall back to your level of training.
And man, if you've never experienced gross motor movement needs in a situation, it's not the time. It's not the time to be figuring out how to do something. So.
And then you do tracking. You bring man tracking to to 5 Stone and in that same situation. And that's incredibly important in a search and rescue.
Yeah, the state of Kentucky doesn't really recognize it as such, but it really should be. We probably are more responsible for losing people than the lost people are. I mean, we just grind over spore and sign every single search. And I went to the Nature Awareness Tracking School, Rob Speeding School, over in Virginia. One of the best weekends, man. Just loved it. Ate it for breakfast, lunch, and supper, literally. But man, it was so good, and to come back and immediately be able to put that stuff into play. I remember us tracking, and I wasn't even lead tracker, but we were tracking a 3-year-old kid through a creek. And my guys they were on it, man. I say my guys, my team's my team. They always will be. I'm not part of that organization anymore, but my guys were on it, dude. We tracked so hard through that creek, man, and we got to a point where we knew where we needed to go, but command wanted us to come back, and we still beat ourselves up over not taking that left turn, man. Yeah. But the tracking it's a lost art, man. It's going away quicker than.
But you're bringing it back. You're keeping it alive.
I'm trying to.
It's really important. It really is. Yeah, I mean, basically, even for your own family. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To be hey, where's my kid at? And you see some trails, through some wet grass or morning dew or whatever. It's like, let's go that way. You could literally save your family's life. But
yes.
All right, man. Well, can you think of anything? But you're a madly insane drummer.
I don't know.
You can play, and that's what's kind of crazy, because like me and you and Kano, we all play drums. It's just I don't know if there's something about the musical realm world, but something.
I'm just going to say it's the warrior mindset. Drums are war. I don't know, but
something. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You're a drummer. You play for the church, and amazing drummer, man. You really are.
That. I don't know about how amazing, but I appreciate it.
If you got anything else we want to share,
just. It's time to prepare. Things aren't getting any better. They're not. They don't seem to be. And I guess we go through this about once every 50 years. But I just really worry about my loved ones in general, and I know everybody else is too. Yeah. It's not just me. And now's the time to learn while the grid's still up and everything's still good.
While you get the opportunity.
While you have the opportunity.
Seize the chance.
Yeah, man. And we're ready and willing.
People have become so complacent with just the comforts of life and are spoiled things that we have every day that we're just so used to having. And it's just like, well, I'll never need it until it's gone, and you don't have it, and you realize what you need. But what are some things, just we can go into our survival podcast here coming up, but like, what are some general things that people can do? If you could just give a few basic things, like, hey, here's where you can start doing some research.
Right.
On some things to kind of start thinking through processes. Maybe it's preparing your home, a vehicle, or whatever. It's more than just living in a tent and starting a fire.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a bunch of things. It's hard to narrow them down, but I'm going to say number one is you need to read a book or watch a video on some country that's just a crap hole somewhere. You need to understand that that's how quick it can happen. If the world ends tomorrow, the people of Afghanistan would never know.
Yeah, kind of reminds you of Afghanistan here recently,
That's exactly right, man. And that's how quick it can happen, man. It takes one boater to start an avalanche.
30 hours.
Yeah. Done.
Yeah.
So get yourself out of America and figure something else out. Talk to people that have been overseas. That's one of my favorite things to do is at work. I'm a nurse in a metropolitan ER. And one of my favorite things to do is to talk to people that aren't from America. Where are you from? Well, I'm from South Africa. Okay, cool. Well, what's life like over there? Why'd you come here? And just listen to what they got to say. And it should open your eyes. If it doesn't, you're probably not going to survive the first 15 minutes anyway. So, but it should open your eyes to what's going on. And so do that. And then you need to start, you need to get to a good, reputable training of some sort.
Right.
You need a basic class. It doesn't need to be fancy. If they're trying to sell you a bunch of crap while you're there, find you a different class. It's not, the money making is not in the apparel and I got a cool survival bag. That's not where it's at. The people should have a insane interest in teaching you how to survive.
Right.
And if it's not about that, then it's not the right course. And then after that, you need to just start stocking and in some systematic way, a way that obviously we can teach or whoever can teach. There's multiple ways, but you need a systematic way to start getting prepared for. Hey, let's just say 72 hours. Hurricane shows up. I mean, people along the coast are kind of familiar with 72 hours.
Bomb goes off at the AT&T building in Nashville, and you lose communications for a week.
That's right. Yeah. It can happen that quick, man. All it is you need about 4 or 5 black swan scenarios to line up, and that's it.
Yeah.
But that'd be a good start. The main thing is getting the training and then understanding how to apply it, and that only comes through practice and time. So
if anybody's out there that's interested in getting the training, even if it's impossible for you to get with 5 Stone. We legit care about this country and about these people. Go get it from somebody.
That's right.
If you're wanting good training and you've got the resources, the time to request a chance to come and train with us, or for us to come to you and train
we'll come to you.
It's no problem.
Yeah, coming to you is the best part, man.
That is the best part. Yeah,
you don't have to leave.
Yeah,
you got it all right there.
You get a group of people together. We can go there and make this thing happen. But you get to learn from somebody who is so highly trained and experienced. It's really almost unmatched because he's got to do these scenarios in real life, in horrible conditions, life-threatening conditions.
Yeah.
Your life has been ingrained and drilled working in extremely high stress and learning how to function under high stress. And if you get somebody who goes and takes a class from somebody and gets a certification but has never had to do it in real life, you're not getting that same level of instruction. That's why they want to come to us for defense training. That's why they want to come to us for medical training, because like these guys, the 5 Stone Pro staff, do it every day.
Yeah, sure.
And that's kind of what separates us. I'm not trying to do this as a sales pitch. It's just the truth. If you can't get it from us, make sure those other people have that same credentialing.
Yeah, make sure your instructor's hands aren't soft.
Yeah.
If they've been doing their work, their hands should be, calloused up.
Yeah.
In one way or the other. That can be metaphorical, but yeah, man, that's what we're about.
Good deal. Guys, check us out on 5stoneusa.com. Again, 5 Stone Frontline Coffee. This is our coffee that we make specifically to raise funds for first responder causes. We need your support. This coffee can be shipped anywhere in the 50 states. UPS, USPS, we can get this out to you all.
Yeah.
We have all kinds of different roasts and flavors. It's all on the website. You can go to and check it out there. That's our way to raise some funds for other people and to help us keep what we're doing going for you all. So check it out. Let us know if you want training, you want survival training, tracking training. defense, medical, whatever, let us know. Chris has got you for your survival, and we'll be there for you guys. Anything else, brother?
No, bro. Just wrap it out.
Prepare, respond, and serve, because someday you will be somebody else's first responder. It's not always up to the people on the other end of the line. You will be somebody's first responder one day. So are you ready? That's the question. Thank you, guys. This has been a production of Five Stone and River Right Productions. Guys, I want to thank you so much for your support and time, and ask that you would check out our very own gourmet coffee line, Five Stone Frontline Coffee. Guys, we take part of these profits and give it right back to the front line. That's what we're about here at Five Stone. We want to support those people who support us every single day. It helps to continue our missions on the front line here at Five Stone, and it helps to give back to the families of the fallen heroes that have served and sacrificed everything for you and for me. So when you have a cup of Five Stone coffee, you're not only having gourmet coffee, you're giving back, you're joining the mission, and you're helping us to serve other people. So by getting our classes, getting our materials, getting our frontline coffee, you're joining our mission, and we cannot thank you enough for your support in this. Guys, check us out at 5stoneusa.com. That's the number 5, 5stoneusa.com. That's where we're at, guys. The information we give you on this podcast is for informational purposes. If you need good in-person training, guys, reach out to us. We can come to you and help you with your needs. Guys, don't forget, prepare, respond, and serve, because someday you will be somebody's first responder. Your time is coming. Will you be ready to answer the call? If not, Five Stone's here to help you become prepared to respond and serve. Thank you so much, guys. God bless each and every one of you. Train hard and be ready.